Today we're going to learn how to make a circle loom weaving. We're going to start by painting concentric circles on a paper plate. I'm starting with the circle in the middle, and then I'm just creating some circles around that circle. I'm using my paint carefully, making sure to rinse my brush every time I change colors. I want to have nice, neat circles. We're going to be working on this for a few weeks, and if you don't take your time during this first class, I don't think you'll be as happy with the work that you get in the end. So really taking my time and doing my best. I want nice circles. There we go, and one last. Now I'm going to let this dry for just a couple minutes, and then I'm going to do some overpainting of patterns. So that's been long enough, my paint won't mix. I'm just going to go back over and make some lines, maybe horizontal, maybe zigzag, maybe wavy lines. Maybe I'll paint some X's just to make my loom a little more detailed. If you need a smaller brush for this portion of the lesson, just ask me. I'm happy to get you one that will work better for you. I'm using all warm colors on my loom, but you don't necessarily have to do that. You could use the whole rainbow, you could choose cool colors, whatever you think will look best for your weaving. You're going to want to think about your color scheme as you're choosing your yarn as well in the next couple lessons. And I think a couple more lines and my work will be ready to dry and then get ready to turn into a loom. I want to focus my attention to the outside of the plate more so than the center. This is the part that's definitely going to show when my weaving is done. So I want to make sure that this looks nice and has some really cool patterns happening. Now it needs to dry before I turn it into a loom. To turn it into a loom, you're going to start by putting a stencil on top of your painted plate. You're going to put a little notch in each area where there's a V. So just making a mark so I know. There are 19. So go ahead and count and make sure you have 19 lines. Then you're going to take a pair of scissors and just cut a little slit on top of each of those lines you made. Again, there should be 19. So do a little double check, because if you don't have 19, it won't work out for you on the next step. Now I'm ready to get myself some yarn and start. I'm going to start on the back of my plate. I'm just taping a piece of yarn. Now I'm going to go through that first notch. And what I want to do is divide my plate in half with the yarn. It won't be exactly half. I want 9 notches on one side and 8 on the other. So go ahead and count. Divide your paper in half and you should have 9 and then 8. Now I'm going to take my yarn to the next door neighbor, go through that. Now I'm going to go across the street, say hello. Not across, not straight up. You want to make the skinniest X possible. Now I'm going to the next door neighbor, then across the street. Next door neighbor, across the street. Next door neighbor, across the street. Next door neighbor, across the street. And I'm going to continue like that. When I'm all done, it's going to look as if I have one notch left over, and that's actually a good thing. So I'm going to go to the next door neighbor, and I have a little bit of yarn left. This is what I'm going to start weaving with. The pattern for weaving is over, under. So what I'm going to do is take the end of that piece of yarn, under, then over, under, over, under. Every now and then I need to pull, under, over, under, just taking turns, ensuring that I'm always doing the opposite of what I just did. Every now and then, I do need to pull it. Now I'm back to where I started. I'm going to go under that one I first began with, and then I'm going to pull it. This is going to be easier to weave from now on because my loom is in place and the notches are nice and even. So I'm just going to continue under, then over. I kind of like to ball up a little bit of yarn in my hand and hold it. That's the easiest way for me to work. If I'm not sure where I left, what I do is I just pull up on my yarn, and the one that pops up is the one that I went under last. So that can help gauge where I need to begin, because I want to make sure that I start just where I left off. You're going to continue to work like this in an under-over pattern until you run out of yarn. I want to make sure that you really get the basics down. This under-over pattern will make your job weaving much, much easier. Every now and then, I like to rotate my plate. It kind of helps me stay on track. And I definitely want to make sure that I'm always weaving in the same direction. And here, I'm not working really fast. Don't worry, guys. It's fast forwarded, so I can show you what to do. To make the knot, you line up the two pieces of yarn, your new with your old, make a loop, go around the loop, through the back, and just gently pull. Now I have a lot more yarn, and I just continue. Making sure that I'm working in that same direction again. Under, over, under, over, under, over. You'll notice that I have almost like a little wad of yarn in my hand. That makes it easier for me to weave. Pulling it every now and then. Once you have this pattern, you're gonna have a breeze. It comes very easily once you figure it out. But like I said earlier, you really need some determination because this can feel difficult sometimes and it can get a little bit frustrating. But if you stick with it, it's really fun and relaxing to weave, and I think you'll love your results. So again, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit here so you can see how the weaving comes together. When I run out, I just knot a new piece on and continue. The more I do it, the wider the weaving itself is. When I'm done, what I'm gonna do is knot my last piece of yarn to the loom. So I'm just gonna go around the loom and through the loop that makes. Now if this confuses you, no worries, bring it to me and I'll help. Have fun!